Hi, this is Jacqueline here. Thank you once again for joining me here. Um, Today, I'd like to talk about carers assessment. The carers assessment that is here in the United Kingdom for those raising people with disabilities. It's an assessment done by the council predominantly, and but not specifically to social workers who would come out and actually carry out an assessment for those that are over 18. So if you're a mother, if you're a carer, if you're a father, if you're a parent, you could get an assessment which takes into account your personal special needs. I'm going to take a quick read of it from the site of carers.org UK. It says if you care for a disabled person, you can have an assessment to see what support might help make your life easier. This is called a carer's assessment, also known as a parent's carer's assessment. Young carers also can have a carer's assessment. Some might call this a young carer's assessment. So just to pause there, a young carer could be a sibling to a child that you're looking after that has a special need. So they could be a brother or a sister, and they could very often be younger or older than that sibling who has the special need. But of course, they're not going to be assessed if they're under the age of 18. So they'll only be assessed when they are over the age of 18. A carer's assessment focuses on your physical, yeah, your mental and emotional well-being, and this is separate from a needs assessment, which looks at what the disabled person needs, like healthcare, equipment, or even help at home. So if you have somebody you're raising, for instance, that has equipment that they use, let's say they're physically challenged or physically disabled, and they have equipment that they need, you could be assessed for it. If your house needs some kind of adaptations, for instance, the door's not wide enough, maybe that could also be put into consideration, especially where use of a wheelchair is needed, and also things such as occupational therapists. So they might recommend things like temporary or even short breaks. Again, things that we will talk about from caring, travel costs, and advise about benefits and local support groups to yourself where you live. It says here even training on how to lift things separately, gym membership and exercise classes to relieve stress, and then also education as well. So I'm just going to briefly talk about those things. It will vary from council to council. There are some councils that will, under their local authority, through social workers, for instance, there are some who are going to give different support and different things than other boroughs. For instance, I live in the Kent County Council. I know of somebody, a friend of mine, that lives in, I believe it's Newham, that's East London, that some of the things that they get or some of the support they get is totally different from what I get. What exists there may not exist here. So very often you might find somebody say, ask your social worker to give you ABCD. But actually, if you go and ask the social worker in a different borough from another one, you find that they'll say, no, we don't give that here. So just to put that out there so that people are aware, so that we don't think, oh, that person is getting ABCD and I'm not getting ABCD. It's totally different. And this is where a carer's assessment comes in. It is your personal needs, your family's personal needs. It's important to take a pause about what your family needs so that when the carer's assessment individual comes out to assess you, you are equipped and ready. Write everything down as much as you can. If it is a break you need uh, from caring for that young person, then you need to say so and say why and how caring actually affects you, how it impacts on you on a daily basis. How does caring for a young person that has the ADHD, that has autism, that has Down syndrome and that has a physical need that you need to use a wheelchair to take them everywhere. How does it impact you? These are the things you need to look into yourself and your family and whoever cares for them, so that they can actually look at it and say, oh, this is how this person is impacted and this is how they need help. I'll say another thing with carers assessment is that let's not look at it as begging for anything. You're not begging for anything. We are looking for support that we as carers are entitled to. This is what the council or the country you're in gives you. It's coming from the government to make your life just a little bit more easier. And so let's put aside our feelings on that and what people might think as well, which is something else that we'll talk about as time goes. Um, so yeah, that's that. And then we you may also be speaking about your mental health, your emotional well-being. I believe I've kind of touched on that. Remember, this is personal to you, and they will ask you this question. So don't feel shy. This is not information that will be uh, divulged or given to anybody else unless it is really relevant, maybe such as a doctor, your doctor, or if it's not your social worker, then maybe somebody else. It could even be a pediatrician or somebody else that, well, relevant people, other professional perhaps. So don't be too shy about that. Um, I remember when I first asked for my carer's assessment. This is the other thing to remember, and this is it's interesting and it's kind of funny, but it wasn't funny at the time because I really needed the support. It's important to also at this time involve people like teachers who might actually know the child. If your child has entered school or nursery, I had very, very wonderful um, a family support worker from a school. I had a lovely teacher for my son. They wrote in, they put in word, they advised me, they directed me to sources of support, and they suggested and told me how I could actually approach social workers. I remember the social worker came out for my second child carers assessment when I asked. I said, I need another carers assessment because I now have uh, the diagnosis or what looks like is going to be a diagnosis because the teachers have said that they're leading that way for an assessment, for the assessment teacher to come out and assess my son. And he said to me, I remember this social worker so well up to today. He was one of my first social workers. He said to me, well, I've seen your other son and he doesn't need a social worker. So the point I'm trying to make on that is that you might have seen him while you visited the first son. You saw him playing, he was calm and everything. That is just the surface of what he saw at the time. There were other behaviors manifesting and challenges that I needed to actually address and speak about. So what I actually did was I actually made a complaint, official complaint on the government website, which is Kent County Council. And they came out and gave a carer's assessment, putting together the information from the school as well. And it is only then that I actually got the support. So what I'm trying to say is that they could dismiss you. Your needs could be dismissed by virtue of what they believe they've seen or heard. They even went as far as saying that what they've seen that was written by the teacher is not sufficient for them to carry out an assessment. I put it to them that I'm entitled to carer's assessment and that an 18-year-old, which I'm a mother over 18 at the time, I'm entitled to a carer's assessment. So you have to put your foot down with social services, because you have to remember that they'll always say to you, our first port of call and our first responsibility is towards the young person, the child, which is fine and it is true. But who is it that is looking after that child in the first place that needs the carer's assessment? For you to actually get to that child, you've got to go through me, right? During this carer's assessment. Never allow people or them to play with your psychology. Put yourself in, you have to put yourself out to know your rights. Otherwise, they will put you off constantly. And I cannot tell you how many times I was put off on that phone when I asked for a carer's assessment. You know what they call gatekeepers? They were gatekeepers. You phone first time, you'll be asked why you want to speak to so and so. You will be asked why you want to have a carer's assessment. You will be asked why you want to speak to a social worker. I remember somebody said to me, you need a carer's assessment if it is just autism. Well, what is just autism? What is that? Is it just? I said to them, it is not just. It is actually a condition. It is a brain disorder. It's a condition. I've been diagnosed. The person has been diagnosed. It is not just. So this is what I say to them. As I put that all on paper and made myself clear, they came out running. So you need to equip yourself with what your rights are and go with that. So at this point, I will stop here and I'll say that is what, in brief, what the carer's assessment is. Prepare yourself, know what you're asking for, know your family's needs, and know your rights, and look after yourself. Until next time, stay blessed and God bless you. Bye-bye.